That'll take us to item number 13, which is action as necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session. And our first item and only item to consider is item 2A, which is selected employment items shown in Exhibit A. Do I have a motion? Ms. Baumgartner.
I move that we approve the selected employment items as shown in Exhibit A.
Have a second. Ms. Hammond seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. And that brings us to item number 14, which is a request by Dutch Fork High School Touchdown Club to make scoreboard improvements in the stadium. Do I have a motion? Mr. White.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the superintendent or his designee to execute the gift and acceptance agreement accepting the video board from the Dutch Fork Touchdown Club, subject to the modifications discussed with council in executive session.
We have a second. Ms. Hammond seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Brings us to item number 15, which is a first reading approval of board policy IJNDAA, distance online and virtual education, shown in Exhibit C. Do we have a motion? Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we give first reading approval of the proposed revisions to board policy IJNDAA, distance online and virtual education, as shown in Exhibit C.
We have a second. Ms. Baumgartner seconds, and now discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Brings us to item number 16, which is first reading of board policy IHAC, social studies education, shown in Exhibit D. Do we have a motion? Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we give first reading approval of the proposed revisions to board policy IHAC, social studies education, as shown in Exhibit D.
Have a second. Mr. Cates seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes. Let's have a show of hands again. I didn't look. We're good. Unanimously. Item number 17 brings us to item 17, which is our first reading of board policy IKE, promotion and retention of students, shown in Exhibit E. We have a motion. Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we give first reading approval of proposed revisions to board policy IKE, promotion and retention of students, as shown in Exhibit E.
Have a second. Ms. Hammond seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. That brings us to item number 18, which is first reading approval of board policy IHCA, summer school, shown in Exhibit F. Do I have a motion? Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we give first reading approval of proposed revisions to board policy IHCA, summer school, as shown in Exhibit F.
Second, Ms. Baumgartner seconds. Any discussion?
I had one question.
Ms. Hammond.
The summer reading camp, it says students of significant below third grade reading proficiency at the end of third grade will be subject to mandatory retention under state law. But I couldn't remember, and I know we discussed it. I just want to be sure because this is sort of new and parents are asking. They can opt out of that summer school, but then they would stay back in the third grade. Is that right, Dr. Milton?
There's been some conflicting information based on what I've understood that you all have been told versus us as instructional leaders. We're going to always benefit on the error of the child. So the student would be reassessed if the parent decided not to have any support during the summer. They refused a summer reading camp as an example, but they may choose to go someplace or have someone work with their child
A
for
tutor or
tutoring
something, yeah.
that's private. So if that were to be the case, we would certainly offer to reassess the student upon return. But this is just one of those clean statements that sweep across the state that it is showing the urgency to make sure that students are participating. But in School District 5, we're going to make sure that we look at the needs of the student because developmentally, a child may progress over the summer. Something may just spark that student's ability and then they're ready.
But you will evaluate them, and because one of the biggest things of this initiative is we really think by the time, once we get this going, and they don't just be socially promoted, we're going to see 7th and 8th grade and 9th grade being able to really do, the payoff's going to be down this. So I know we need to give them that chance, so it's awesome. You're kind of doing the best of both worlds, and I
That would need to be
appreciate it.
per parent request, though, so if we offered the summer reading camp and the parent were to refuse, then that's going to be the next step for us to reach out to that parent to see what are they planning to do. If they were to say nothing, they may accept that retention because they may choose for their child to be retained.
Right,
But if
right.
they said, we're going to try something this summer, we're going to go to the library, whatever their choices may be, then that would be a discussion between the school level administration and that individual family.
But they would be assessed
Yes,
before.
ma'am, they would be.
I'm great. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Any other discussion, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving Exhibit F, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. That brings us to item number 19, which is a selection of delegates for the 2017 School Board Association Delegate Assembly, shown in Exhibit G. And we probably need to have a little discussion before we have vote, because we don't have anything down. We've polled the board pretty much, but did you have something, Ms. Stowers, other than the form? No. But I think we understand, as I understand it, Mr. Halterwong is not going to be able to attend. Mr. White, you're probably very doubtful for that. Okay. So are all other board members planning to attend? So that leaves us with, we have 6 delegate votes. Is that correct, Ms. Stowers? I believe that's right. And 5 people going. Now, a lot of times we just assign one person 2 votes. Would that be fine? Anybody want to carry the burden of 2 votes down to this delegate assembly? Ms. Hutchinson, will you carry that burden?
I was going to suggest that the chair carry that
Ditto
burden.
that, Ms. Hutchinson, the chair.
That would be fine. If Mr. White, you think you might be able to go, we could just put you down as an alternate. That would give you a voting right if you win.
Put me down as an alternate.
Let's do that, and then we can assign the votes. That would give you a right. All right? Well, based on what we just did, do I have a motion that we distribute our votes among our board? Would somebody make that motion? Ms. Hutchinson?
I move that we distribute the votes across the board to include Ms. Hammond, Ms. Bumgarner, Mr. Gant, Mr. Cates, and Ms. Hutchison as delegates, and Mr. White as an alternate. The delegates each having 1, with the exception of the chair, who will have 2 votes.
We have a second?
I second.
Ms. Hammond seconds. Any further discussion? See none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously if you'll get that into the School Board Association. Thank you. And that brings us to our discussion agenda, which is a proposed revisions of Board Policy IKA-R grading assessment system shown in Exhibit H.